let's talk about the first movie on our list, which is, of course, Kull the Conqueror. Jude, tell us about this movie.
All right. 1997, Kull the Conqueror, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour 35 minutes. This had a budget of $30 million. Vader, what do you think this brought into the box office?
Oh, not very much.
Take a stab at it.
I'm gonna be shocked if this movie broke even. So I'm gonna say $30 million. $6 million?
$6 million.
Okay, yeah, shocker.
Yeah, this was a huge flop.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. All right. You ready to hear what it's about?
Let's do it.
Okay. At the Royal Army tryouts, the traitorous Terry Silver learns that King Sven Thorson has begun killing all the heirs to the throne. Kull, a barbarian foreigner, comes to blows with the Mad King, who gives the crown to Kull with his dying breath. Kull starts off his reign by freeing the slaves, giving the people religious freedom, and marrying a 3,000-year-old demon witch, Akavasha, the lead singer of Crucial Taunt, a band that wails.
That's right.
Akavasha sort of kills Kull on their wedding night, but before she can bring about her reign of darkness, fire, and hell on Earth, it turns out Kull's still alive, and they don't call him the Conqueror for nothing. Dad's home, and he's real pissed, and he's got a mouthful of ice to lay on the fiery queen.
What a goofy movie.
So fun.
But you know what? It had Sven Thorson in it.
It had Sven
and
Thorson.
He said words.
Uh-huh.
He had some dialogue.
Spoke, yeah.
He had like a whole scene, yeah.
I remember watching. I don't remember the first time I saw this, but I had seen it before. But I'm gonna say this is my second watch after its initial. Whenever I saw it before, probably 20 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how long ago this was made. Was it 1999?
97.
97? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it in the 90s at some point, and that was the last time I saw it. So
Okay.
I had pretty much forgotten this movie. Yeah, Sven Thorson. He talks like Donald. He talks like,
He really does.
It's like, I'm going to go and smash you with the axe. But he didn't really have a whole lot of dialogue, and he was the king, and I thought that was really cool.
I'm sad that he didn't say, I'm going to go do some steroids.
I know. That would have been awesome.
Like he did in Running Man.
But I'm watching this movie, and I wasn't paying attention to anything, and I'm like, wait a second, that's motherfucking Sven Thorson. It's like, where's Arnold? Where's Arnold in this movie? That would have been a really cool cameo.
How dare he do a movie without Arnold?
I know.
Well,
he was badass.
He was in Hard Target, if you remember correctly.
Yeah. A little bit. I did a little bit of reading about this movie, and this was like loosely based on what they wanted to do with some King Conan kind of stuff, and I think there was some people crossover involvement. That's probably more of a Matt's scope of things, but
the soundtrack for this is epic.
Oh, and that was another thing that I wrote in my notes that I can't look at because we're doing spaces right now. But the soundtrack threw me because they go into like this epic kind of horn kind of stuff, but then all of a sudden it's like the full on like metal, the metal riffs. I'm like, what?
Not just metal riffs, but like the type of stuff that
I'm like, what is going on?
It's the type of stuff that you get from like those generic kind of like soundtrack CDs, where it's just like, oh, we need to put in some heavy metal music here.
Right. It was like a non-copyrighted metal riff background music that I play when I'm like doing Facebook kind of stuff.
Yeah, you get 99 CDs for $1.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. So I'm like, where did they get this shit? It was crazy.
Yeah, so, what's interesting about this movie is that, so Kevin Sorbo plays Kull the Conqueror, and this was made at the height of his popularity with Hercules, the Legendary Journey, which was, he played Hercules in this long-running TV show, which was produced by Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert, the guys behind the Evil Dead movies. And the guy who directed this, John Nicotella, he was a long-time TV director. Like, he just cut his teeth on TV and, like, done a lot of episodes of TV, and this was his first and only feature film.
Bless.
And the guy who wrote this, Charles Edward Pogue, he wrote the script for Dragonheart, the movie where Sean Connery plays a dragon. And he was very upset with the way this movie turned out. The
movie that Dennis Quaid gave up on his accent halfway through the movie.
Yeah. This movie feels like an episode of Hercules. With
it really
maybe a little bit of a bigger budget, maybe.
Better music.
I don't know. Look, man, I'm a metalhead. I really am. I listen to this stuff every day. The music took me out of this.
Really?
It was so weird.
I thought
Yeah.
I love that goofy shit, so I loved it.
Yeah, when I watch a barbarian movie, I need like
orchestral.
I need horns. I need
You need the
yeah. What Basil Bolduris? What was the guy's name who did the Conan stuff? I need that kind of music. But I don't know if I got that name right. I probably just butchered.
that music, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird movie. It really is, and it's not a good movie.
I'll tell you this though. This was the movie I enjoyed the most this week because it was so campy.
Yeah.
That like it was actually entertaining to me.
See, I got the impression that they wanted this movie to be much more less campy than it came off.
Oh, it's unintentionally funny.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it. But it's not good enough to like get a cult following or anything. Because if it was campy enough, it would be all over Jude's radar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm surprised I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, but you don't really care that much about it now after watching it.
I'll never watch it again.
Yeah, so see, that tells me right there they failed.
Well, I remember when this movie came out, like there were commercials for it all over the TV because like they were really trying to push Kevin Sorbo as like a movie star with this thing. And I remember watching the commercials and being like, that looks really dumb. I'm not going to go see that. And like, this was my first watch. I've never seen this movie before. It's a shame because I like Kevin Sorbo. I like the people involved in this. I mean, Thomas, what's his name? Thomas Ian Griffith, Terry Silvers from the Karate Kid movies. He's in this as like the main bad guy. And it was kind of funny to see him in there with like Tia Carrera and Harvey Firestein shows up as like a pirate captain lord.
Oh, yeah.
And the accents in this movie are just all over the place.
All over.
Yeah, like nobody gives a fuck. Like we're just gonna speak as we normally speak in this movie.
It's funny when you mentioned that this was made by the same people who made Dragonheart, where Dina Meyer is in that awful red wig in that movie, and Tia Carrera.
It's not made by the same people. It was written by the same guy.
Okay. And Tia Carrera is also in this in an awful red wig.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it worked in both movies. I liked them both as
I didn't
redheads.
think it worked at all in this movie.
I thought it was great.
I kept looking at that wig and I was just like, oh, that's an awful wig.
It's an obvious wig. And like the way that she's like trying to like move it out of her face is so like you wearing your wig.
Hey, whoa.
Sorry.
I look good in this thing.
You do. But there's an obvious way that you're like trying to like move hair out of your face when you're wearing a wig versus when you just have your natural hair.
Yeah.
And she was doing that throughout the movie, like get this hair out of my face. It was so funny. But her with red hair and green eyes, I don't know why, but it worked for me.
I feel like I look like a fat Bret Michaels when I wear this thing.
You kind of do. Yeah. You're very Bret Michaels-ish. Yeah. You should do a Rock of Love.
Yeah.
Rock of Vader.
Every rose has its thorn. Yeah.
So this movie was originally titled Conan the Conqueror, and it was being developed as the next Arnold Schwarzenegger incarnation of the Conan series. And when Schwarzenegger turned it down, the studio was just like, well, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to replace him with someone new and do Kull instead of Conan. And so they basically just swapped out Robert E. Howard characters for this movie. But what's interesting is that in the John Milieu's Conan the Barbarian, they actually took a lot of the backstory for Kull and gave it to Conan in that movie. And in this movie, they took a lot of the backstory for Conan and gave it to Kull because it was basically just like it was meant to be the Conan character. So this movie was just like a slapdash, like put together.
Let me tell you, if this was the Conan the King movie that they had given us, man,
there would have been an uprising.
There would have been a riot with Conan fans. But you know what sucks is, I don't feel like I want somebody in Hollywood somewhere, I don't care where, Netflix, Prime, whatever. I want them to do a real Conan movie, not this schlocky bullshit. Well,
Netflix is developing a TV series.
Yeah, the character's never been done justice ever. Not even in the Arnold movies. So it's just that's just something I want to see before I'm done.
Well, one of the weird things about this movie is that the marketing for it was so bad. Like even on like the poster for this movie, the tagline is "Kull rocks."
Yeah.
Like yeah, the character rocks, you know. and with all like the heavy metal music and like it just seems so out of place. It instantly takes you out of the movie.
Right.
But the weird thing is like they were presenting Kull as the son of Conan. Like this was supposed to happen like after Conan, the movies basically. But in Robert E. Howard's world, so like Kull was the first character that he wrote and sold to Amazing Tales magazine. And the weird thing about that is that Kull was actually published after Solomon Kane. So technically Solomon Kane is Robert E. Howard's first published character, and then Kull came afterwards, even though Kull sold first. And Kull was kind of like the thinking man's Conan, like he was a descendant from...
I think Kull is supposed to be about 1,000 years before Conan.
And he's from Atlantis, like Atlantis hadn't sunk into the sea yet, and like he kind of comes up, he was a slave, he was a pirate, and then he becomes king. And when Howard got to the point where Kull was king, a lot of the stories shifted from like adventure stories to like political dramas, where he's like basically Kull is surrounded by people who are trying to take him down, and he has to continually outsmart them.
I think Robert E. Howard is kind of sort of responsible for my hardline stance that there was a thriving world population pre-Ice Age, and in my head, this is the kind of world that was out there.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like 25,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That there was civilizations and there was wizards and castles and demons and you know, people like barbarians and Sumerians and loincloths. Yeah. Yeah. You know, this is my pre-world Ice Age civilization the way it was.
Okay.
For real. That's what I have in my head.
Yeah.
And you know, because honestly, anything older than 5,000 years ago, we have no clue what was going on. So, you know, in my head canon, this is the kind of world that we had prior to whatever big cataclysm hit, you know.
But so, it is interesting. So in this movie, basically the king played by Sven Thorson,
Sven Thorson.
He basically goes crazy and kills all of his heirs. Right. And when the captain of the guard, played by Thomas Ian Griffith, shows up, basically he tries to stop the king from killing his people. And Kull, who was auditioning, like he was like a mercenary and he was kind of trying to get into like the king's guard, he goes along with Thomas Ian Griffith and he ends up fighting the king and delivering a killing blow. And the king's so impressed, as his final fuck you to the world, he's like, this rando barbarian.
This is the guy.
Yeah,
he's now king.
It's like, I'm going to do what I want. This is what I think. And if you don't like the way I think about it, then F you. Which, you know, is kind of funny because that whole little storyline is really kind of paralleling Kevin Sorbo in the real world. You know what I mean? Kevin Sorbo has basically been ostracized from Hollywood.
Really?
Yes, because he has his opinions. He's very conservative. He's very he's a very pro kind of Trump dude, I guess maybe, and he's not shy about it, and I kind of respect him for it.
I follow his son's TikTok where he constantly badgers his dad about stuff. It's pretty funny.
If you go follow Sorbo on the socials, it's cool. It's wild. He just tells you how it is, man, and it's very kind of parallel here because Kull comes in and this is what I feel, and this is what's right. And if you don't like it, then too bad.
Yeah,
I'm the king.
He's extremely progressive for a barbarian.
Yeah, he did make some mistakes.
Sure.
Like he refuses to rape women because he wants
Mistake number one.
Gotta do that.
Yeah. He wants them to want to be with him, which during that period of time, it's just like, oh, that's crazy talk. So basically, once he becomes king, he starts ruling the kingdom. And he has these ideas like freedom of religion, freedom of speech, like all these like crazy things that would never happen.
Freedom of general people.
Yeah. And so this turns a lot of the court against him. And so the court begins conspiring with a wizard to take him down. And the wizard resurrects this old like demon sorceress.
Akavasha,
played by Tia Carrere, who wails apparently.
She wails.
They really wail.
They really will. Basically, she puts a spell on Kull to make him fall in love with her and marry her and make her his queen. And then the plan is to assassinate him and have her kind of take over the kingdom and then pass it off to the rightful heir. And but he gives her such good D that she decides to spare his life. And
Kevin Sorbo.
and once Kull,
She's like, I was gonna kill you.
But man,
That was a real good D appointment.
so basically she keeps him alive because she wants to, I guess, make him her boy toy or something.
She's like, I want to set up a standing D appointment.
Yeah. And Sorbo isn't about that, and he decides to lead a charge to take back his throne. And through that, he teams up with a priest, his cousin, who's also like a fortune teller, and
sex slave.
And sex slave, yeah, part of the old Sven Thorsson's harem, basically. And he goes to the old kind of pirate master who he was enslaved to, like, in the backstory, played by Harvey Fierstein. And gets it.
If you don't know who that is, you'll recognize him from
Mrs. Doubtfire.
that and Independence Day when he's on the phone with his mother.
Oh,
I gotta
God.
go call my mother.
It's like, oh my God, I'm the gayest dude in the world with the same beard I have in every single movie I'm ever in because I refuse to shave.
So basically, Kull travels to this island of the gods, where he's trying to get this thing that can destroy the witch because like she thrives on fire, and so he needs to get like cold, basically. And there's this big fight, and the fortune teller lady basically gets this god breath to kill the sorceress.
Yes, because only the cause can be the carrier. So that means the cause of this was brought about by a woman. So only a woman can carry the breath.
Yeah, but eventually she passes that on like an STD to Kull.
Fortune teller lady, the second lead of the movie.
Yeah.
we can't remember her name.
Not at all. Tamaria.
I don't know, something.
Zaretta?
Sure.
Sure.
Zaretta.
Okay.
Harvey Fierstein's character's name was Juba.
Which one was he?
He was the
Juba.
Pirate King.
The
He was
Pirate
on
King.
the phone with his mother.
Oh yeah, that guy. I forget his name.
So
Conan or Kull.
yeah, so I mean this movie's so all over the place, and the CGI crap fest at the end.
Oh God,
was so bad, and we see Kevin Sorbo give like a nice big licorice kiss.
Oh,
to
geez, that was so
to
cringy.
demon.
It's like,
She's
whoa.
full demon at that
I know.
point. She's got a mouth as big as my entire head. And she's just like, come on and lay it on me, big
so
boy.
nasty.
Yeah, and Sorbo just goes full tongue.
He does.
on it. Yeah.
It's like I wish there was like a behind the scenes like clip or movie or something of them filming that scene because it has to have been a thing. It had to have been a thing. It's like he had to have been like making out with some gross ass rubber demon mask or something. It's like, whoa. It was nasty.
Yeah. Did you guys pick up on the Star Wars reference in the movie?
I don't remember.
So there's a point where Thomas Ian Griffith's character is upset that Tia Carrere's character is changing the terms of their deal.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I have altered our pact. Pray I do not alter it further.
Yeah. I did remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
That was good.
It was a weird little reference there.
Yeah. I've my favorite part of the movie, and this was just the testament of how bad this movie is, was the priest, the fire priest dude.
The guy with the messed up face.
It was all fucked up and he had the messed up face.
He's like-
and then she cured him. And then throughout the course of the movie, every time she'd get mad at him, she'd smack him around and it'd fuck up his face just a little bit more. So by the end of the movie, he's right back where he started,
Right.
back at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It was funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
It's like, damn it, my face. It was just like,
And the whole movie, he's like, but I've loved you for 1,000,000 years. And she's
shut
like,
up.
This movie does have its humor to it.
does.
Like there are some funny moments, like when they point out to Kull that the priestess is 10,000 years old, and he's like, she told me she was 19.
yeah.
So like there are some jokey moments, but the humor from this movie comes from it being unintentionally funny.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not a good movie at all.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
No. And it kind of butchers the character of Kull. Because,
A bit, yes.
It's Kull in name only.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think that's the kind of the theme with most of these movies today. It's a Robert E. Howard characters in name only, except for maybe Solomon Kane, but I don't know enough about him to be able to say that or not. So,
well, I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed it for what it was, and it was fun to see like Tia Carrere and Terry Silver, Sven Thorson, and Kevin Sorbo.
I think it's interesting that like this movie is kind of like a sequel to the Kull character, because like we skip a lot of his origin stuff and just go right to the part where he becomes king. And then when Solomon Kane, that's like a origin story. It's a prequel to all the books.
Yeah.
So like we see like his origin. And then with Conan, it's a reboot, reinvention.
Yes.
So we kind of get the full spectrum of Hollywood fuckery with these movies. So why don't we go around the table? Final thoughts on this movie. Vader, what did you think of Kull the Conqueror?
When I think about Kull the Conqueror, this is the kind of movie that I probably would have watched a lot of on a TBS or TNT type of movie show when I was growing up. But do they even do that anymore? Do they play the same movie every weekend?
I don't know. Does anybody have cable TV anymore?
I don't know. I don't know what they do anymore. But it's not good. It's not good. It's not a 1-star crap fest, but it's not much better. It's really close. It's just there's just something off with the way they're telling these stories, and I always compare these to. I haven't read the books, and so I can't tell you how faithful they are to the books, or if they're even remotely close. But I have read a lot of oversized comic books, with Savage Sword of Conan and those kind of things, and they're never correct. And this thing just seemed really kind of campy, but not good campy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needed to like make a decision to be some kind of movie other than what it was. It's like either go full camp or go full rated R, and they couldn't do either one. It was off.
Yeah, and this had a fairly big budget for 1997 too.
Right. I'm gonna go like 1.5 stars.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay.
It wasn't good. So I'm a little bit disappointed it was as bad as it was.
It felt like a TV movie.
It did
almost. Yeah.
It felt like a bad episode of Hercules.
All right, Jude, final thoughts and rating?
Okay, so I had never seen this before, and I've also never seen Hercules. So for me, this is kind of right in the same vein as Beastmaster.
Okay.
For me, it's kind of like the same enjoyability for me. I loved the music, and I love camp. So I think I enjoyed it way more than you did. That being said, I'm probably never going to watch it again. So I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was fun. I don't think it set out to be the same level as fun as what I enjoyed it as. But I mean, 1997. So I understand why it made $6 million.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really fun. I'm going to go 2.5.
Okay.
2 3/4 even. I mean, it's a barbarian movie from the 90s. I don't have high expectations for it. I never thought that this was going to blow my socks off, but I thought it was enjoyable, and I didn't hate watching it. So 2 3/4 fiery queens.
All right.
So I'm going to give this a 2-star rating because despite it being a bad movie, like objectively bad, it was enjoyable in the sense that it's campy. I like Kevin Sorbo a lot. I didn't mind watching him for 2 hours do his Hercules thing, basically under a different name. The sets were really good. Whenever Sven Thorson shows up in a movie, I can't give it a 1 star. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, like, there's a lot to complain about in this movie, but you just don't care because like from the opening rock montage and like they list all these like crazy names like Akalakalash and then like all this stuff, you're just like, this movie's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the best part of it was the army tryouts in the very first scene.
Right.
Yeah, he's like killing all these guys, and like you think he's in an actual battle, and then Terry Silvers is just like, hey, stop.
Yeah, he's just like coming in. He's like sitting there on a horse, and he's like, "Well done, but let's see how you do against me."
Yeah, and then they blindfold themselves and have like a sword fight.
Did you notice how the blindfolds changed halfway through the fight?
I didn't notice.
Did you notice
that.
how they didn't actually like stop them from seeing anything? Yeah, like those blindfolds were weak.
Yeah.
But like everything about this movie is just so ridiculous, but that kind of gives it a certain type of charm, I think.
Yeah.
My one complaint would be like, I feel like the movie was a little bit too long for what it was.
Sure.
Like I would have liked to have seen it kind of condensed a little bit more.
It was only an hour and a half. It just felt longer than it was.
Like 80 minutes. This is what it should have been.
Yeah. This should have been the Harvey Korman movie. Right?
Yeah.
82 minutes. What is that? What?
85.
85.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, overall, I enjoyed this film. I wouldn't recommend it. Like if it was something that, as you were flipping through the channels, you came across. People don't do that anymore because of streaming. But like, like if you came across this playing late at night, like you could watch it and probably have a good time. But we had to spend money to watch this movie. So.
Yeah, if I was flipping through the channels and Rhonda Shear was hosting, I totally would have stayed on this. Yeah.
All right, guys. So that was our review of Kull the Conqueror. Join us in a little bit after these messages where we're going to be talking about the next Robert E. Howard inspired movie, aka Solomon Kane. So we'll be right back after these messages.